We are live. We are live. We are live. We are live. Welcome back. Let's talk for wellness. Welcome back. Welcome back, guys. We are here. We are live. We have an incredible and an amazing show tonight. We have an amazing guest tonight, guys. So I am looking forward. I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to diving in to our segment tonight. How about you, Lady J? It's good to see you, girl.
Good to see you as well. I am elated to have an opportunity to talk about something that's meaningful and timely in our society. So, as we dive in, I'm excited that we bring not just our voices, but the voice of a person that has been 3 decades in the game. So, excited.
About that. And so, guys, we thank you for tuning in every Tuesday from 7 to 8 Eastern Standard Time on Let's Talk Her Wellness. And we before we get into anything, guys, we absolutely love to have our drink for tonight. And I am drinking out of my amazing cup that says, "Remember why you started." And so it's not just amazing to have an amazing drink when you're about to talk about some amazing tea, but it's also good to have your drink housed in and parked in a cup that has an amazing saying on it. And so I really love this saying, "Remember why you started." And I remember, and we remember why we started Let's Talk Our Wellness. And so we're going to get into that tonight. But I am drinking in my cup tonight, ladies. I just can't get away from, I don't know if it's a summer thing or what. I can't get away from my wonderful, amazing, fresh squeezed lemon juice by my husband. And so I just been loving his lemonade and it's been just blessing my whole life. And so I'm sipping on that in my favorite cup. And so Lady J, what you drinking tonight?
Well,
You always
today,
have fancy.
of course, I like to do it a little bit fancy. I'm drinking, of course, joy in my cup.
Oh, I
I'm
love it.
also drinking today the heaviness of the world. Um, and as we are preparing to take a drink out of our glasses, my heart is heavy for the sister that lost her life through the hands of the police, Sonia Massey. So
Yes,
my drink today, and as we say cheers, it's cheers to a better tomorrow because
yes,
she was a queen. She
yes,
was a queen.
yes,
And
it was.
she unfortunately lost her life. We can't talk about um, the reform that needs to on this platform today, but that is another conversation. But back to what's in my cup. In my cup, I always got some goodness in my cup. I'm peeping in just to give you curious people.
Ooh.
You curious people what's inside of the cup that the queen is drinking, and of course the lid is a crown,
Oh,
as
look at
every
that.
queen
Oh my
has to
goodness.
remember to wear her crown. So inside of my
Fancy.
cup today, I always have to have something with watermelon because, like you, it's the season. So there's watermelon pieces, freshly squeezed lemon juice, along with some mineral water. And three benefits of mineral waters that I found out: one had to center around high blood pressure.
Yes.
Studies have shown that if you drink a glass a day, it may have a result in lowering blood pressure. Now, of
Mhm.
course, all of us queens are trying to have glowing skin. So mineral water helps with the skin and it also helps with the digestion. So I'm drinking today. Cheers to all the queens and the two queens in
Cheers.
this
Better.
platform, on this platform with me. I salute you and every queen that's joined us in the audience as part of our community. Nothing but love.
across the screen. I love it. And how about you, Coach Hicks? What are you drinking in your cup today? Because you know you got to be a
Unfortunately,
part of the cup drinking, the tea drinking. But you got to spill some tea, a whole lot of it.
unfortunately, I must have missed that part of the memo. What I have in my cup, I just have a regular bottle of water.
Hydration, coach. There's some hydration in that cup.
That's right. Listen, listen, that's okay. As long as you brought something to drink to the table, and you
Yes.
did, and we appreciate it. But guys, we thank you again for tuning into the show. This is the part where we tell you to go take a pause and go get what you are drinking. Hopefully, you brought it with you. And this is a good chance for you to get your notebook and a pen because we're going to be taking some good notes. How about I always say my note takers, because the right information can change and save your life. And so we want to get right into our special guest tonight. We're talking about Beyond the Stigma, honest conversation about mental health. And our guest speaker tonight is Helen Hicks, a mental health professional. We are so glad to have her on here. Helen Hicks is dedicated mental health professional who has spent nearly 3 decades making a positive impact in the field. With a deep passion for helping individuals and families navigate the complexities of mental health and parenting, she has established herself as a trusted authority in her area of expertise. In 2023, Helen achieved another milestone by relaunching her self published parenting book, The Parenting Treatment Plan. Mm. This book has garnished acclaim, receiving a 5-star review from readers' favorites. Helen then turned her book into an online course to further assist parents achieve their desired parent child's relationships. Looking ahead, Helen Hicks has set her sights on a compelling mission. She aims to expand the parent coaching aspect of her practice with a vision of positively impacting 1% of the global parent population with her expertise, making parenting easier, more enjoyable, and healthier for everyone. I absolutely love it. And especially in the time that we are in today, because this is a whole new generation. And like we used to say, and I thought it to be very true, it takes a village to raise a child. And we need some tools in our toolbox today to help us raise these amazing children. And so I want to give it to you, Lady J.
All right. So thanks for passing it over to me.
Yeah.
If I have to say, to need help and know where to find it is
Mm-hmm.
such an important thing. So I'm not a person that is only here promoting Helen Hicks and
Mm-hmm.
her therapeutic um, leading to her clients. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also a client.
Yes.
I'm a
Awesome.
client.
Mm-hmm.
And some years back, there was a connection that I looked for, someone that had a trusting face, the same skin tone for me was what I sought because I felt that they would understand my plight and my struggle, but
Mm-hmm.
also not just considering myself as a Black woman, but also looking for someone that was qualified. So I stumbled on both and was blessed to have the conversation when I struggled with my marriage. So thinking back, my question to you is 3 decades. I saw that you help as young as I think the little tiny tots. all the way up to grandmom and them. What is it that has fueled your passion for the last 3 decades?
Okay, so when I first went off to college, I thought I was going to be a lawyer, and I was like, oh, I'm going to help the world, I'm make it a better place by, getting these bad people and putting them away. And then I flunked 2 classes, and I said, well, let me rethink this.
Uh-huh.
So I went into an intro to psychology class, and the teacher was talking about different diagnoses, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's my mom.
Mm.
And so I took the book home, and I flipped it open, and I showed my dad, and I was like, read this. And he read it, and he was like, oh my gosh, that's your mom.
Oh, wow.
So for me, what psychology did for me is it made sense of my world, because here I am in college and just finding out why my mom was the way she was, just being able to make sense of all the different experiences that I had had with her up until that point. Like, so for me, psychology was this window into understanding what I had experienced and being able to make sense of it instead of it being like, what in the world is happening? Is it me? Is this the world? Like, what is this? It made sense. And so I know what that did for me, because for me, that was so empowering to be able to know, like, oh, this is what's going on, and this is what I can do, or maybe these are the limitations of it. But that was so empowering, just to have that understanding of, this is it. Like, it has a name, it has something, to help you understand and to just move forward in a different way.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, identifying it at home and seeing that your own mom displayed some signs, how have you been able to take that passion and then help others that may have the same, whether it's a parent, a child, or a husband?
Okay. So just like I focused in on that understanding, that's what I try to give people or to help them achieve. There's only so much that I can reflect back to people and say, hey, this is how I'm seeing it. This is how I'm experiencing it. Does that match for you? Does that fit for you? Does it seem to make sense of your world? And that's what I really try to help people get to, is kind of like those aha moments, those moments of, oh, yeah, that really makes sense. That works for me. I get it. Because when you have those moments, you feel empowered. You feel like you not only understand you and your role and what's happening in your own life, it gives you clarity of where you can go with that. So rather than feeling helpless and stuck, you feel like you now have a flashlight that you can shine into this darkness and help you find your way.
That's good. So, Lynette, what's your thoughts?
I'm just taking it all in. I'm just, just listening, but you said something that really like stuck out for me, and it was about your mom. Um because a lot of times as counselors, trauma therapists, myself, sometimes we don't think that it can happen in our family. It's one thing to be a therapist, and it's a whole nother thing to have it right in your family. You
Mhm.
know, um, we are called and we're helping the world, but it's something when it's in your house. And so, what was that like for you?
uh, What was it like growing up with my mom? And I mean, just to kind of share with the audience, my mom's diagnosis was paranoid schizophrenia. So, growing up with her, up until the point that I understood, that it had a name, that was scary, and that was confusing. Um, and you just never knew what was going to happen with her and why, and who was going to be her target today, and things of that nature. But once I understood it, like I said before, it was empowering. And as I moved into becoming a mental health professional, I feel like it helped me to be able to connect with my clients, because I can connect with that sense of confusion. Like, I have no idea what's going on here. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought this was the direction I'm supposed to go in, and this doesn't seem to be working. Everything is falling apart. I don't understand. And I can connect with my clients in that sense of, I get it. I've been there, I've done that. And sometimes I'm able to use it in a way to say, well, here are some things that I found helpful. Here are some things I know other people have found helpful. And I think that's a part of why some of my clients are drawn to me. I think it's a part of why some of my clients stay with me as long as they do, because they do get that sense of, Helen gets it. Helen understands. It's not just somebody who's sitting there pacifying them and saying, oh, yeah, yeah, poor you, poor you, poor you. It must suck. It's like, I can be in that moment of, no, it really, really sucks.
Right. Well, Helen, I like it's something you said. I'm just going off of what you're saying. You said that it had a name.
Hmm.
And I want to park the car right there, because sometimes a lot of what we see, because you might think it, and nobody in the room is saying anything. Perhaps you had a mother or an auntie or an uncle, because I'm just saying, I'm a 70s baby, and I saw a lot of mental illness. But just like everybody else in the room, nobody was talking about it. We make excuses about it, about their behavior. And, you know, talk to that situation where you know that someone in your loved one in your home or what have you has mental illness, but nobody is saying anything. Nobody is, because we'll say, ain't nothing wrong with me, you know. But we see this sporadic behavior that we know in your soul, in your soul, that something is off. And it's not just in your mind, because I'm speaking for a lot of people here. And guys, if you have any questions, this is the time, and I'm looking at all of these cameras. This is the time, and this is the space. This is a very sacred, hard conversation. And this is where you can ask the questions. And if you don't want to ask up here online, you can inbox us. And we will be sharing Helen's information, that you can reach out to her, because I realize that healing needs an atmosphere, it needs a space, and it needs a time to itself. And we realize that. We recognize that. And I just wanted to speak to that right quick. But if you have a question, you can definitely leave us a comment. We see your comments. So we want you to interact. Send some hearts up if this post is blessing you. Because again, the right information can change and save your life. And you may feel like it's not you, but it could be your next door neighbor. And sometimes a lot of you sleeping with them too. So I'm telling you that if you thought that there was an elephant in the room, it's a chance it is. And it's a good thing to, therapy is good for you. It's therapeutic, it's healthy. Just like we have to take our cars and our homes, things have to be serviced. So do our health, our wellness, our mind, body, and our spirit. And so this is the perfect place. So, Helen, speak to that when you feel like, I know something's wrong. I know it ain't in my mind, but we don't speak to it. We don't say anything until there's an outburst or something traumatic happens. And can you
Right.
speak to that?
Sure. Um, Being able to identify your
Yes.
experience, whether it's your personal experience, your experience as someone else, having whatever they're going through, but being able to identify it, like I said before, it's empowering because you don't get stuck in your own mind wondering, what did I do wrong? And why am I being punished? And why am I bad? And why am I unworthy? And why am I undeserving? And why can't I have better? And like you get caught up in all these questions and these whys and what ifs and everything else because you don't know what else to call it.
Right.
And it's human nature that we internalize. Something goes wrong, and the first thing we do is we blame ourselves. Like somehow it's my fault that the world is turning in this particular direction. There's something wrong with me. Everybody else has a great life, but no, I can't have that. We internalize so much stuff that we experience in life. And just having that moment of being able to label it and say, okay, this person is depressed, this person is anxious, this person is bipolar, this person has PTSD, like whatever it may be. And I know there are people out there who have issues with being labeled. I think that's a totally different conversation, but
Yes. Yeah.
but being able to say it's not me,
Mhm.
that is so empowering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as I listen and I begin to think of things that were not issues back because back before, like Lynette talked about being 70 babies, and some of us could be 60 babies and older and even younger and everything in between. Some of our children now are facing issues like social media playing a role in mental health. What are you seeing as a therapist around social media and mental health?
I mean, I think there is a dichotomy. I think I have seen people who have used social media to help themselves. They're looking at all the self help videos and they're looking for coping skills and they're looking for support. And I have seen social media be positive for some people, but then I've also seen it be very negative for a lot of
Mm,
people because, again, coming back to human nature, we see what other people are doing and we can't help but to compare. And social media gives such a false presentation
yeah.
of what people's lives are really like. And people are seeing this and they're believing, oh my gosh, that's what somebody else's life looks like. And the worst part that I see about social media is people see it and think that's what normal is.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
And then they're down on themselves of, oh, I'm not normal because I don't look like that. I don't do that. I don't have that, like whatever it may be. And people just have a misconstrued idea of what's being presented.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another thing about social media that does concern me is I've had an increase in a number of young people. And I would say young people, meaning like mid 20s and younger, where they are actually seeking out social media in order to establish their life goals, to say, okay, this is what I should be, this is what I should do, this is what my life should look like. And it's like, whoa, I don't even think that's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of these
Like,
avatars. Wow.
right. And there's so many people who, again, this is part of why I'm so into parenting, because there are a lot of people who are also looking to social media and whatever media is out there to guide them through
Mhm.
life, because they're not getting that guidance at home. They're trying to figure out, okay, I'm 15 years old and people keep telling me to start planning out my future. Well, what should that future look like? And they're on social media saying, oh, okay, that's what the future should look like. That's what I should aim towards. And they don't have realistic ideas of the world.
Mhm. Wow, that's good.
When you talk about the distortion of 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 how we create these personas in social media, if we were to create an avatar around describing a person that is chronically depressed or exhibiting some red flags, what would you point out that, hey, hey friend, if your friend is displaying X, maybe they need to get off your couch and get on someone else's couch that is licensed and certified and that can really help them deal with those concerns.
Okay. I think that's a hard question to answer, because I also don't want to pigeonhole,
Um,
diagnoses and like, well, everyone who's depressed looks this way,
okay.
versus like, because it's really easy to say that someone who's exhibiting a lack of motivation, a lack of interest in life, a lack of connection with other people, like someone who just looks down and lonely, it's easy to slap a label of depression on that person. But people oftentimes overlook the person who looks like they are working hard. They are doing everything they can to make whatever strides in their career and in their life. But maybe what they don't see is that person feels like they're never getting far enough. They're
Mhm.
never making the actual strides that they want to. So someone on the outside looking in says, "Oh wow, they get up every morning, they're off to work, they have their place, they have their car and da 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 da." And they may not know that that person is buried in mounds and mounds of debt. They may not understand that this person is scrambling just to stay alive another day, because we have our idea of what it should look like, rather than really being tuned into where people are at in their journeys.
I like that.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
like
So,
that.
what's your thoughts on?
You, like she said, you don't know where people are in their journey. You don't know, what people are going through, and we are very quick to judge people, without knowing their story. And so that brings me to one of my questions that I had written down. And when we talk about breaking stigmas, what are some of the most pervasive stigmas around mental health? And how can we as how can we as a society work to dismantle them?
Okay. So what I think one of the big ones is the idea of, you don't need mental health services or a therapist or anything associated with mental health unless something's seriously wrong.
Hmm.
And I think that is a negative. Like, mental health and mental well-being is something all of us need on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And it's not being taught consistently anywhere. I mean, I understand some schools out there, they're starting to add to their, health education, a little clip about psychology and here's some coping skills and things of that nature. And I appreciate the fact that somebody is doing something in this area, but it's not enough. There are too many people who are in this world. They're getting older and they're interacting with other people, and they have no clue at all what mental health is, what it should look like, what it entails. And yet we all have a mind and
Mhm.
we have, our inner workings as a person. We're not just bodies, we have inner workings, and we don't understand what's going on internally with ourselves. We don't understand why we engage in certain patterns of behavior, even though we know that behavior isn't good for us. We don't understand why we get caught in our own cycles of thoughts. Like, we don't understand so much about ourselves. And these are things that affect us on a daily basis. And nobody wants to talk about it. But yet people do want to talk about, okay, what you put into your body as far as food is concerned, how much exercise you get, making sure you're getting out into the sun. Like, we talk about our bodies, and I'm not negating the importance of our bodies, but our minds are
Yeah,
equally important.
very
Yeah,
much so. I
yeah.
love that. I love that. I love
Mhm.
that. Do you foresee in the future? I can really, honestly, I can foresee this in the future. I think it will be an amazing and an incredible idea, how they package it. But I can see mental health being taught in schools as a part of a curriculum. You know, that mind body. You know, and how important it is to mind care. You know, we have soul care, we have self care. You know, as a therapist, that's some of the things, many of the things that we teach, and I can see myself really rearing up a campaign on mind care because it's just as important as self care. We talk about self care, self care, self care, self care. But I just started highlighting soul care because soul care and self care are two different things. But mind care is just as equal,
Mhm.
how to take care of our mental health. And taking care of your mental health, I believe, is knowing your triggers and what your triggers are. Because if you don't know what your triggers are, you'll
Right.
go into places and spaces that don't have your mental health best interests at heart. And
Right.
so I just love, how you broke that down and with that. So I will wait until what Jay have to say, but be- before I ask my next question,
I,
yes,
I was thinking about like safe spaces. How do we as a community create safe spaces for the conversation of mental health? Like, we're advocates, but I was thinking, how do we bring that advocacy to life in a way that creates a safe space for our communities and our friends and families?
Oh, wow. That's definitely an excellent question. Be, because I think it's a little bit tricky as well, because the safe space that you're talking about is also about creating an opportunity for people to be vulnerable, for
Mhm.
people to kind of peel back some of those layers and expose those softer sides. but those softer sides are very prone to injury if they're not received the way that person needs them to be received. So I think there are steps to getting to be able to do what you're talking about. I think one, people have to be educated first on how to even receive somebody else's vulnerability. Like,
Mm.
I don't know, this just popped into my head. I'm
Okay.
not much of a reality show type of person, but some time ago there was like this celebrity couples counseling kind of
Yeah,
reality show.
absolutely. Yep, yep, yep. Yes, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. And so there is this one episode, and I was just curious because I was curious in their approach as couples therapists. I was curious, like, how are you guys doing this? Are you really doing a good job? Um, so there was this opportunity where the wife had disclosed to the counselors that she had experienced a sexual trauma, and that sexual trauma, as you were talking about, was a trigger, for her, and it was affecting their sex life. It was affecting her ability to tolerate touch, and a lot of those intimate parts of a relationship. She was struggling with it because of her sexual trauma. And when they wanted her to share this information with her husband, the biggest no-no that I saw, they didn't prepare the husband for how to accept her vulnerability. So when she disclosed, like, this is what happened to me, he got caught up in his emotions and
Made
his
it about
emotional
him.
reaction. Yes. And he couldn't be there for her. So in that moment, she felt rejected all over again,
Yeah.
traumatized all over again. Well, see, now I'm bad and I'm not good because not even my spouse can accept this about me and my history and how it's affected me and shaped me. And that's where I'm coming back to. Before we can tell people, hey, come here, be vulnerable, we have to also tell people, hey, this is how you allow people to be vulnerable. This is how you accept their
I like that.
vulnerability. You have to prepare them, and you have to say, hey, look, if you don't know what to say and do, it's okay to just sit here, put your hand around them and say, you know what, I got you. That's it.
Yeah.
That's better than you sitting here getting caught up in your own feelings, and now this person feels abandoned and rejected all over again. So
Mhm.
I think part of creating those safe spaces is preparing people, not just to come and talk about your issues, but how do you listen to someone else's issues?
Mm.
How do you show up?
I like that because what that says is when this healing, space, happens, you have to prepare that person that this is not your time and that this is not about you. It is about that person. And you
Right.
have to allow them to heal, you know, um, the way they need to heal. And so I like that. And that's what I have in my counseling session. This is a sacred space. And healing look different for everybody. It don't look the same, and like you said, prepare them that you're coming to counseling. This is what this can look like. This is what this can be. And just know that you're in the right place for whatever that needs to unfold. Let it unfold. I like that.
So, Lynette, you mentioned about something that you had and you were going, wait. So, that question.
That question is what we always get asked as therapists. What do we do? What do we do for therapy? How do we nurture our souls? what does our mental care look like? So, Helen, what do you do to, when you come out of these spaces, how do you relax and unwind? What are some of the things that you do to nurture your soul care and your mind care?
Okay, absolutely. So I definitely have a list. And I'm not saying I do the list, like the whole entire list every single time. It's just different versions of whatever I feel I need in that moment. So
Mhm.
I've definitely been in a session and I am quietly praying. I am saying, Dear Lord God, I have no idea what in the world is going on with this person or how to help them. I just need you to lead and guide me to help them get through this next hour. I mean, that is part of my own soul care is like, okay, I'm surrendering. I'm saying, you know what, Lord, you are the one who is in control. You know all, you can do all. I am just a conduit to help
Yes, yes,
verbalize your will. So help me. Like, I'm going to surrender and say, it's not that I am this wonderful, excellent professional. Like, I am here doing the will of a higher power. And let me surrender to that power in that moment. So that's one of the things I do, whether I'm praying in a session, I'm praying after a session, I'm praying before a session. Like, if I know
yes,
what I'm about to get into.
yes, yes, yes. Because it can get real, it gets real in those rooms.
Right. It absolutely
Real and
can.
real emotional.
So I pray, I meditate. Meditation is typically an everyday thing for me. The amount of time varies, but it's still, I want to have that time of just quiet and peace and serenity and being able to bring everything down and to not be at this height of, interaction and emotion and charged, just let me bring it down. Let me just come back, find my baseline, know that everything is okay. I'm okay. I'm a huge advocate of journaling. I journal whenever I feel like that's what I need to give clarity to those
Wow.
thoughts, those emotions. Um, I advocate for journaling all the time. You don't have to do it every day.
Right, right,
Do
right.
it, feel like you need it. Definitely that. There are times where I get really into reading. If there's something that's going on in my mind, and I'm like, you know what, I just need other answers. I need to know what other people are doing and how other people are handling certain things. And then I will just go through a series of books and, I'm just looking for something, looking for something, looking for something until something clicks. And it's like, whew, okay, I feel like I'm lighter. I feel like
Mm.
I have a certain awareness, that wasn't there before, something that is helping me to move further in my own personal journey. um, Quiet time to myself, like I absolutely love just to have quiet time to myself,
Yeah.
whether music or sometimes the TV is playing in the background, and I have to tell you, I am terrible at watching TV. I turn it on all the time, but people are like, what are you watching? I don't know.
You are not alone, sister.
Because we're such readers.
So
Yes.
yeah, I have my list of things, and then I have my best friend who, if there are certain things that, hey, I'm trying to work through this and I'm trying to, get myself from A to B. And my best friend, I love her to death, and she's a straight shooter. We've always been that way with each other. So if she needs to be like, Helen, now you know.
Yeah.
Then she's going to be that person for me. And she's going to be like, she's going to tell me the hard things that,
Uh,
other people may not want to tell me or be hesitant to tell me. But we've had this, friendship for over 30 years now. So we are honest with each other.
yes,
Right, right,
yes,
right,
yes.
right.
That accountability
Yeah.
part.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
definitely.
if I was considering going for my first session. Could you paint the picture of what does a typical session look like? Do I have to come prepared? I think so many people get worked up on, like, oh gosh, now I have to go expose myself to someone. What's a typical session like for someone that's brand new?
Okay, so a typical first session is all over the place. Like, I am so used to it, and people are always apologizing. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I gave you like 10 different things at once." I'm like, "Nope, I followed you perfectly fine." Um, that's what happens, and how I describe it is, it's kind of for many people who are new to therapy, and let's say you are your 30s or high or older, you're just coming to therapy. This is your first time in the entire your life. I see it as like you're this bubbling soda pop. Everything is right at the lid, and you come in that first session and it's like popping the lid off, and there's all kinds of stuff that's just coming out, and you're here and you're there and you're there and you're there, and you're like, this bugs me and that's going on and that's da, 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 da. And it's all over the place, and it's fine. It's okay. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to put everything in order and come with the list and have an agenda. No, because we're going to go wherever you need to go. Now, for some people, you come in and you throw all these 10, 15 different things out there. And part of what I see my job is, I'm going to tune into that thing that I think is tugging at you the most in that moment. I'm going to say, yeah, I heard that you mentioned this, 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 and this, but tell me more about that one. That's part of my job, is to tune into, where does this need to go? And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help guide you to where we need to be. So it's okay if you don't have an agenda. It's okay if you do have an agenda. It's okay if you don't know what to talk about. People tell me that all the time. Like, I don't know what to talk about. And sometimes those are the best sessions ever.
Wow. Well, there's a question that someone asked, and they said, I would like to know, as a Christian believer, how does it affect yourself or another believer if you think you or they may have mental illness?
It's an interesting question.
Mhm.
I guess I'm kind of wondering, the person who's asking the question, are you seeing mental illness as something in contrast to belief? Um,
Mm.
because there are many people out there who have religious, spiritual, well, I don't want to say spiritual, tends to be more religious beliefs, that if you believe in God, then you just take everything to God. You go to
I like
pray,
that. Mhm.
that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But here's where I challenge people. People will say that in regards to mental health, but do you go to a doctor? Have you ever taken pills? Whether
That's
it's
a,
over the counter pills
I
or
like
prescription
that.
pills or anything else. Like, those are all
I like that.
people in the body of Christ. Like, if we're going that way, then let's go that way. Like, those are people that God helped to gain that knowledge and that understanding to help you in your journey in different ways. Now,
Mhm.
mental health professionals, we're doing the same thing. We're just here trying to help you in your journey in a different way than those medical professional people are. And when we're talking about the spirit, the spirit is more connected to the mind than it is the body.
I like
So
it.
if you want your spirit to be right, then you need your mind to be right. So these
Mhm.
things are definitely connected together, and they are not in opposition of each other. And to go just a little bit further, if you're that deep into your spiritual religious beliefs, how God or whoever, whatever you believe in, is going to communicate with you is through your mind. It is through affecting how you think and what you think. And those thoughts then guide your behavior. So these things are not in opposition of each other. So if I think someone else, of whatever spiritual, religious beliefs may have a mental health illness, disorder, or whatever going on, I am going to help you couple these things together. Because if your spiritual beliefs are going to help your mental health progress, I'm going to use everything I can to, all right, let's pull it in. Let's pull that in. Whatever is going to help you move forward, let's use it and get there.
I like
That's good.
like
I,
that.
I noticed that when I was doing some research on your website, that it told us about you have 5 beautiful sons, and I love that your transparency, being a teen mom um, at 19, and then championing all of that. Um, what was it that you tapped into, like in the mental space, to be able to get to where you are today?
Okay. So, I had my first son when I was 19 years old, and he was in the NICU when he was born. And even though I was 19, I lived at home with my parents, but they worked full time. So,
Mhm.
and I was the youngest of all my siblings. So when they went off to work, I was home alone with this brand new baby who just got out of the NICU. He had, IV still in his arm, like all these other things that were going on. And I remember just sitting there and crying and thinking, oh my gosh, if someone else was just here to help me, this would be so much easier. And, I had that moment of crying. And then I was also like, but no one is, and no one's coming. And you cannot sit here until 5:30, 6 o'clock when somebody else walks through that door, not having done anything for yourself or your child because no one else was here. And so that was my moment of not having someone else here isn't an excuse.
Right.
It's not an option. Like this is what it is. And
Right.
you're going to figure it out. And I did. Like, yes, there was lots of trial and error. There were times we had and times we didn't have, but it was a matter of you can't sit around in your own life waiting for someone else to rescue you. You have to figure it out. So, everything that I've done in my own life with all of my boys, whether I was with a partner, I wasn't with a partner, like whatever, it was all under the belief and the motivation that no one else is coming to save you. You're either going to do it yourself or you are going to drown.
Wow,
Wow. That is
powerful.
really, really powerful. You know, we talk about mental health. I want to shift it to a question. And I want to shift it in a question, mental health in the workplace, because we all go to work every day. And what steps can employers take to create a more supportive environment for employees dealing with mental health issues? Because that is big.
Right, absolutely. Um, so I think the first step for employers to take is let's be mindful that everybody's a human being. You did not hire a bunch of robots. You hired people who have lives and they have feelings and they have needs and all these other things. The same things that you have as an employer, those people have them too. So let's first off remember that.
Mhm.
And I think if you stay mindful of the fact that these are people too, they are not less than. They are not somehow super powered that they can do the jobs of three people. Um, like, let's just remember they're human beings first off. And then when it comes to now going a step further and incorporating mental wellness within the workspace, then you have to keep in mind, yes, these are people, but not all people are the same. And people have different needs, and people receive information differently. Part of what I try to communicate to anybody that I work with is we all use language differently. Like, we're all speaking English,
Wow.
but the
Good.
way we use that English and those words isn't always the same. And we take that for granted. So, my silly little example of this is I always say, just a minute. Do I ever mean 60 seconds?
Never, 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 never.
No, I never do, but I will not say what I mean. What I mean is when I'm done. But I won't say that. I will say just a minute. And people who know me, they interpret, okay, when she's done. So
Yes.
that's my silly example, but that is huge when it comes to communicating to large groups of people. Because as an employer, as a manager, as a leader, whoever you may be, like, you are saying certain words, but everybody is not hearing those words the way you think you are saying them. And so the first step in mental wellness in the workplace is to be mindful of how you are being received.
I like
Being
that.
mindful, like, just to have that understanding. Everybody didn't hear what you think you said.
Right,
I
right.
love
That was good. That
that.
was so good.
That is powerful.
Yeah. Now, we talked about workplace, and you have done so much work around parenting and helping parents to get it together. And as I looked at your website, there's a program that you have to help us get it right. Like, my children who are adults, and thank goodness at this time, uh, I'm not having to parent them in the way it's different as adults. What is it that your program is about? Talk to us about that, because you do individual counseling. Then I saw this whole detailed um, information and data that I said, wow, I wish I would have had this when I was raising them jokers. So talk to us around, how does it, what is it? How could I become a part of it? Thanks. Thanks.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for mentioning that. So it is. I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. You can go to my website, which is helenvhickscounseling.com, and that's V. And so at the very top of my website page, you'll see the parent coaching course, which is, gosh, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. What is, anyway, I'll just get into what it's about. So basically, throughout my years of experience, because my experience in the behavioral health field started with me working in group homes, and these are group homes for adolescents, and then I went to group homes with younger children, and I kind of ping ponged back and forth between younger children and adolescents, and I learned a lot in regards to being able to work with children that the system has labeled as basically unredeemable. These were kids who were seen as unadoptable. These were kids who were seen as, okay, they have failed in other placements. We don't know what else to do with them in this home until they age out. So how do you work with those types of kids from their perspective? Adults are unreliable. They're not trustworthy. How do you then establish some sort of connection with these kids and then help them to get to where they want to be in life, which is, a successful person? And so I took what I learned from that, and I saw how it fit with everyday parenting, because we take that for granted as parents. We take it for granted that if you have your child with you, you see them every single day, and you're interacting with them to whatever degree, you take it for granted. You assume that you have this level of connection with your child that you may not really have with your child, simply because you see them and you interact with them every single day. You think they trust you. You think that they are willing to, sacrifice themselves for you and lay down their lives for you because you're willing to do it for them. So what I found is, in order for parents to really have the type of relationship they want to have with their kids, and I mean the relationship where you have great communication, there is trust, that if you need to provide your child with guidance, your child is willing to accept your guidance. And you are also willing to accept if your child chooses some other guidance as well. You're not offended by, oh my gosh, you didn't take what I said, you did what so and so said. Like, so the starting point of this is, I established SMART goals for parenting. And that's the title of the course, SMART Goals Parenting. And the first goal is the parent has to become the respected figure of the child. So also understand that throughout the course, I interchange respected figure, authority figure. I know some people have, triggers with authority figure, but
Right.
it is not meant in a negative way. So, but you have to become your child's respected figure. And there are 5 skills that are necessary for a parent to engage in and to be consistent with in order to be and remain the respected figure. You have to be consistent, you have to nurture, you have to guide, you have to listen, and you have to know how to speak. Okay.
I love that.
So those are all the things that a parent has to be in order to be the respected figure. Now, once you become the respected figure, here's the magic. The magic is, now your child trusts you. And now your child is willing to allow you to guide them. Now you are working on Maslow's 3rd hierarchy of needs. So if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the very bottom is food, clothing, and shelter. Everyone can agree we all need that. The second level is safety, and that's physical and emotional safety. And this is really, really important, because the area in which most parents tend to, I guess, regress in their parenting is when it comes to guidance, which also includes discipline. So, because discipline is an emotionally triggering event for parents as well as children, parents often get caught up in their own emotional reactions and wind up inadvertently sacrificing the emotional safety. Once the emotional safety is sacrificed, you have now cut yourself off from that 3rd level, which is connection. That's where relationships are built. That's where you build trust. That is where your children start to tune into valuing other people in their lives. But if you sacrifice emotional safety, you can't have that level of connection. So, what I'm teaching parents to do is, okay, you're going to parent in this way with these 5 skills that keep emotional safety intact, so that you are constantly interacting from a place of connection. It's not this tug of war, these power struggles, this push pull, do what I say, don't do that, stop yelling, stop. It's not that. It's because now your kids are invested in this connection. Now they have a value for the connection. So here is where children, they're not only self-disciplined, they're also emotionally stable. And here's where you'll start to see kids, oh, I got that for you, Mom. Oh, don't worry about that. I'll do that, because they're invested in the connection. They
Oh,
see you as the parent. They say, oh my gosh, my parent is stressed because they got to cook dinner and vacuum and they got to do the laundry. Mom, let me do the laundry for you. Like,
Yeah.
they're invested in the connection.
that
So
is so good.
that's where parenting is healthier and it's easier. And I know there are people that are struggling to believe me when I say this, but my youngest two are 13 and 16. And it has been years since I have needed to discipline either one.
Oh, that's good. That is so good. So you have a method that works, and I think that is so good because I think that we have a lot of parents that is struggling in this area, not with just their kids, but their grown folk, children. I think that that is a struggle. I see that a lot, and Helen, how can people get in contact with you?
Okay. So, like I said before, my website is www.helenvhickscounseling.com. I am also on LinkedIn as Helen Hicks. I am on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook as What Would Helen Say?
I love
So you can find me in various different places. Reach out to me. I try to get back to people as soon as I can. So definitely, I'm available.
And so, you know, last but not least, and I'm going to turn it over to Lady J. What kind of just turning it into fun right now,
Okay.
what kind of tip or what kind of icebreaker or what would you suggest we do every day that we can wake up and we can do something for our mental health? Can you give us something that we could massage our brains or our spirit with? Like something, whether that's a guided meditation or something like that. What can we end this session with that our viewers can tune in with us for a second, take a moment? How can we bring it down? What would you suggest that we can do?
Okay. So the first thing that popped into my head was gratitude. I mean, no matter where you are in your life, whether you have the things you want, you have the things you need, you don't have some of those things that you want or need, but just to look around you and to just find as many things as you can to be grateful for, to be grateful for life, even if it's not the best version of life. To be grateful that you get to breathe, to be grateful that your body works, to be grateful that you have some food, even if it's not your favorite, that you have food that you can eat. If you have a roof over your head, or even if you don't have a roof over the head, let's be grateful for the stars in the sky. Let's be grateful for the moon that's giving you light to see wherever you may be. Like, I know we're all trying to get to certain places in our lives. And I know we're in various different points of our own journeys, and it can be in a good part, it can be in a struggling part, whatever it may be. But absolutely just take a minute, find the things to be grateful for, because it's so easy to complain. And when we complain, it brings us down and we feel powerless and we feel less than. But when you start thinking about the things to be grateful for, you start to feel better.
I like that.
Yeah.
I absolutely like that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we've covered a lot today. And I know for me, relationally, it brought me to your path. And I don't know that I got a chance to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for helping me to heal, and the person that was on the other side that needed healing along with me. And I know a lot of times that what brings us to your world, you have to be passionate and compassionate. And I felt and received passion and compassion from you.
Well,
And
thank you.
I just wanted to offer and park myself, as you said, into gratitude. Now, since we having fun, so as a single woman, is there some red flags I need to be watching for if I'm out on a date with someone, or considering like how do I weed through like, no, honey, you ain't ready for that kind of situation. Anything that you can give me as
So,
a cheat sheet, just give me a little something.
so my thing is always be tuned in to you, because your red flags may not be my red flags and my red flags may not be your red flags, so it's not that there's this blanket list of red flags. It's that it's about you. So if you're going out on a date and he says or does something, you're like, pay attention to that. Don't just dismiss it
Right.
and say, oh, he must have meant this. He did that because of that. Don't be so quick to dismiss and justify and excuse and all the rest of that. Tune into you, because that's you trying to tell you something.
Oh,
Now,
I love that. Mm.
if you have a conversation with him and you say, hey, look, earlier this evening you said and you did and this, that, and the other, and it really kind of disturbed me. And if he takes that and he says, oh my gosh, I am so sorry, I will do my best not to do that again. Okay, that's a great sign. Now, if you tell him it disturbed you and he gets defensive, nope.
Red flag number one,
That is so good. That is so good. And Lady J, she touched on single. Boy, man, we got to do a whole segment on the single game, you know, but also too the married. Um, because I understand you're also a marriage counselor. And
I have.
so that part too, I think that that is so amazing because marriages today, need counseling. I encourage that because, every marriage needs a tune up, and you don't have to seek counseling because something is always wrong,
That's
but
good.
also too seeking counseling as a honey, we're going to get an oil change. We're going to go get a tune up, you
Right.
know. It's what keeps the marriage, you know, um, alive, and doesn't matter how long you've been married. It is just uh, being mindful of the love, because we grow and we evolve. And what I like last year, I may not like this year. And so when we allow each other to grow and evolve, that might take some counseling.
Right. So I guess the best way I can kind of summarize is most people get married because they fell in love, and they take for granted that a long lasting and healthy marriage is about repeatedly falling in love with your
Mm.
partner over and over and over again. And people assume that falling in love with them the first time is enough, and it's not. Because, like you said, the person that you married however many years ago is not the person sleeping next to you now.
Not at all.
Who are you?
Right, right. And if you haven't learned how to fall in love with this new version of your partner, then it's only a matter of time before this just falls apart.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just gotta ask one more question. Because I struggle with like communicating what I consider difficult conversations to my partner, right? And you gave me some great steps to how to do that in love. Somebody out there that's married, that's not me, or in a relationship that's not me again, needs some of those steps. Could you give them some freebies of how do
Okay.
they manage having that difficult conversation as we close the conversation down?
Sure, sure. So, a couple of steps, and I have to like preface. I get most of my couple skills from the Gottmans. So, if anybody's interested in the Gottmans, you can go to their website. They have self-help stuff, whatever you need. But basically, when their approach to couples counseling is, those conversations are predetermined by how you start them instead of how you finish them. Because a lot of times couples are focused on, well, where did we get to in the end? But the Gottmans have found that it's how you start the conversation that not only tells you where the conversation is going to go, but where the relationship is going to go. So starting those conversations is very, 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 very important. So the first thing you want to do is you want to talk about how you feel. And that means you have to use feeling words. You cannot say, I feel that, I feel you. Like you have to say, I feel disappointed, I feel hurt, I feel embarrassed. Like use feeling words. So you tell your partner how you feel. Then you connect it to the situation that caused you to feel that way. So you don't say, I feel hurt when you do A, B, and C. You say, I feel hurt when A, B, and C happens. Okay.
Mm.
So you don't want to immediately blame your partner for having done something because people almost always interpret that as an intention. Like you think I intended to hurt you. You think I intended to mess up and to be late and all this. No, 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 no. I'm just talking about the situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how you feel, the situation that caused you to feel that way. And the third thing is really, really important. So, with being kind and gentle towards your partner, tell your partner what you need your partner to do to help you resolve feeling this way.
Mm. Y'all
Mm.
gonna have to pay for the rest. Okay, community. Make an appointment. She is virtual. Don't try to get no. I gave one that is no more for you. Virtually find her. She's worth every dime.
Listen,
Thank you.
Helen, you have been extraordinary.
Thank
And we
you.
just want to thank you for coming on the show. And definitely, it's not your last time.
Thank you.
There
I am
are
happy to come
some,
back.
there are some segments that we want to dig into, and especially um, coming up election time, because there is a lot of stress. There is a lot of ways that we need to we want to prepare our viewers for what to do at this, because I just do believe that we are going to see some incredible things happen in the next couple of weeks leading up to this election, and we want to prepare our viewers. And so we put up, and we're going to put up ways that you can follow uh, Helen Hicks. And guys, we encourage you to get counseling. It's therapeutic, it's healthy, and it's just essential to your health. And so we thank you again. Thank my guest, Lady J. You are incredible. Don't this cough, but you are incredible. And we thank all of our viewers for tuning in every Tuesday with us from 7 to 8. Come back next Tuesday.
Like and
We have
share. Follow
something
us.
incredible. Like and share. Follow us on our social media platforms, our YouTube channel. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Right.
Thank
Have an
you.
amazing week, everyone. Keep
Yeah.
your mind healthy.
Yeah.